The Supremes sing a new song. The gays are dancing in the street to it while the Christians are crying. In Florida, the key witness in the Zimmerman trial can't read, or write apparently. In local sports, the Sixers got game, the Flyers got blame, and more than the Phillies are killing Dutch Dalton. This and more tonight on this edition of the I'm Only Serious News Network.
It's the I'm Only Serious News Network with Dan Mahon, Josh Jacobou, Tony Viejo, and Rick Robotin.
With this just in, the Pope has been shot. Take it easy, I'm only serious. The Popes are fine, Pope Ernie and Pope Bert. They're just not living together anymore. For now. But speaking of gay marriage, the Supreme Court has struck down a very important part of the DOME Act, which will allow gays to be recognized by the federal government. In writing the majority opinion, Justice Anthony Kennedy said, "It's time we got off their asses. Let them live and let live." In the dissenting opinion, Judge Scalia stated, "We had a job to do, and we blew it." Of course, when asked about his blowjob comment, Judge Scalia raised a hand as if to say, please, a well-lubed hand, mind you. Philadelphia Archbishop Charles Shotput stated, "The church will vigorously defend and promote the authentic meaning of marriage and family values, especially those with a lot of young boys in it." Take it easy, I'm only serious. He never mentioned marriage. President Clinton, who signed the DOME Act back into law in 1996, had this to say, "I did not have sexual relations with any man. Paula Jones, but no man." Well, further comment on this subject, I'm going to turn to my colleague here, Tony Viejo.
Thanks, Dan. So yes, this whole thing about the same-sex marriage, them getting to equal benefits now, that's just happening. That's going to be a thing now. That hasn't happened in the past. You have people going overseas, coming home, coming back. Their spouse is the same sex, but they die. They can't get any benefits or aid for it. That's horrible. But now here's my question: where's the government going to get the additional funds now to pay the same-sex spouses? That's probably why they were fighting it for so long. But with all kidding aside, it's good for people to have the ability to fall in love with who they decide to fall in love with and not have to be ridiculed for anything like that anymore, right? Because that's going to stop, right? That's stopped now? Right now, it probably had.
In national news, Hillary Clinton has been awarded the Liberty Medal, which is given out every year at the Philadelphia Constitution Center. When that ceremony takes place July 4th, former Governor Jeb Bush will be there to give her the award since he was last year's recipient. And it's just another case of America's coming out party, where gays and lesbians can still reach across the aisle. Also in the news, Atlantic City held its annual air show this week. However, the government fly teams of the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds were unable to attend due to the cutbacks in the military. However, they did have the banner planes flying by all day, doing flybys with banners reading "Stronger Than the Storm." Stronger Than the Storm. And that's a catchy song you see going on right now. Although it's curious why Bruce Springsteen, John Bon Jovi, or even Cyndi Lauper didn't have a hand in this, all being from Jersey as it is. Turns out that Bruce Springsteen wanted to make a song, but played to the tune of Philadelphia, which knocked our economy out of whack for years to come after he sang that. John Bon Jovi wanted to add that silly wop 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 in there, and Cyndi Lauper got as far as making a video where you could see her dancing on the boardwalks with her friends. Of course, the scenes of her labia hanging out her bikini underwear were not very pleasurable. I'm only serious. It was a one-piece, but the labia was still there. Cracker, please. More on this, though, is our correspondent, Tony Viejo.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, so the federal government, with the sequester, could not afford to send the Blue Angels down to the air show. When you're going to have vendors there making money, everyone else making money to help revitalize the tourism to a hurricane-ravaged area, and they're not going to send the Blue Angels to help out with that. The Blue Angels are a major draw. People want to see the Blue Angels. But the other thing, Bruce Springsteen already wrote a song about that situation. Sandy. I mean, come on. He wrote that years ago. It was foretelling. I think Rick has something to add on this as well. Rick?
I just received a report. Apparently, the government has now disbanded the G.I. Joe squadron.
In Texas, they've just recently executed their 500th prisoner. Good for them. Her name was Kimberly McCarthy. She was put in jail for the 1997 murder of her next-door neighbor, Dorothy Booth. She gained entry by knocking and asking for a cup of sugar. A cup of sugar. Cracker, please. But for her last meal, she had her steak and eggs and a coffee with no sugar.
Texas, the 500th death penalty? 500th. They really know how to do things in Texas, don't they? Every time they think about the death penalty in Texas, I just think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and someone chasing someone down. That's how the death penalty in Texas should be to me. It should be an event. It should be on pay-per-view. Because when I think of Texas, that's how I think of Texas. But she gained entry for borrowing a cup of sugar. 1 cup of sugar. This is why, since I live in Philadelphia, there's no entry. Those people that come to my house to fill out the little forms about the electrical bills and everything like that, no, they don't gain entry. They don't get to see anything. I don't let anyone in my house.
In Florida, the murder trial of George Zimmerman, a half-white and half-Hispanic man, is underway. As you know, he's accused of killing Trayvon Martin, a young black male, in February 2012. Now, his jury consists of 6 women, 5 whiteys, and 1 Hispanic. So the I'm Only Serious News recommends that you stock up on emergency supplies, folks, for when that verdict is read. Cracker, please.
As a half white, half Hispanic person from Florida, I find this whole case to be just absurd. Guy tackles a kid, thinks Skittles are a gun or Skittles are a weapon. Everyone in the media after that was already wearing the hoodies. And this just shows how our American judicial system is, like, we're innocent until proven guilty. But really, seriously, come on, please. As Dan Mahon would say, cracker, please. Or McSpicken, please. I would just like to point out that everyone's already determined this guy's guilty. And where they find a jury that could just sit down beyond a shadow of a doubt and find this guy either not guilty or not? Really? This is all just a waste of time and money. I believe Rick Roboten has some more to add on to it.
Yes, well, as we know, the Zimmerman defense decided to open with a knock-knock joke that was received a little poorly, but the prosecution actually came out with a knock-knock joke of their own in response. Knock knock, Tony.
Who's there?
George Zimmerman.
George Zimmerman.
Bang! In entertainment news, both Paula Deen and Kanye West are both catching flack for using the N-word. But for more on this, we're going to go to our black entertainment correspondent, Josh Jacobo.
Thanks, Dan. Now, first, I want to comment on this whole George Zimmerman thing, Trayvon Martin, because a lot of people, they don't realize that Trayvon got racial when he was calling up that friend by saying, "There's crackers following me." You see, crackers follow me everywhere. When I go to the store to buy some Lucy's, I got crackers all over the place looking like that nigga gonna steal something. So they should have never made it racial in the first place. And also, I don't like how his mom ran out of there once she heard that 911 call when he was like, "Oh my God, someone help, help." That could have been anybody. That could have been Trayvon Martin stepping on that mother's testicles. You know, that hurts. That happened to me once at football camp. And I didn't like that. And I'm glad you brought that up, Dan, about that whole Paula Deen thing, because she didn't have to admit that. There's certain things you don't need to admit. Like, she used to use the N-word all the time. She's an old white lady, you know, baking brownies in the 30s or whatever it is. They all used to use the N-word, you know? Like, I pleasure myself on the bus. I need to tell you folks that. Oh, well, she never said that. Sorry, I did that. But listen. And also leads me to this whole Kanye West, Kim Kardashian. You see her in that dress when she was pregnant. Listen, I know you ladies thinking, oh, that's not right, you know, she's pregnant. She looked like a cow, an Armenian cow. That's what she looked like, you know, in that dress. I mean, even for a black man, he was probably like, this chick's too thick. You know, she need to get on trim spot, get on that Khloe Kardashian diet. The Khloe diet is what I pretty much call it.
Thank you, my brother, for your report. Always interesting. Well, before we wrap it up tonight, there's some sports news we'd like to go over. The NFL is in the news this week with the arrest of New England Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez for murder. Head coach Bill Belichick was asked about his player's future, and he replied, "It won't be as a tight end." After his arrest, he was quickly released by the Patriots, but picked up, folks, by the prison team, the Green Machine. The head of the prison football team said he'd probably use him as a wide receiver. which would also help him develop his defensive skills. Go figure. So thank you for joining us in our first telecast of the I'm Only Serious News Network. And before we wrap up and ship this one off to the old NSA library out there in the Midwest, our correspondent Tony Viejo will close us out with a new segment called Tony's Misled Thoughts.
All right, folks. With what Dan just mentioned about the NSA and the privacy, and then this footage not being able for them to view, which is like any footage being able to view that we make. Everyone's on a hot button issue ever since the Snowden guy said that the government's been spying on us. And everyone's all up in arms about the government monitoring their privacy. Well, let me break something to you people that you may not have understand. Since the invention of social networking, your privacy has been out the window. We as American people keep telling everyone where we are on a daily basis, what we're eating, where we're going, what we're shopping, what we're buying, who we're talking to, who we know, who we associate with. The government doesn't have to look anywhere for the information. We put it out there for them on a consistent basis. Everyone is all about privacy when we don't want to have any privacy. The whole point of everything now is to not have privacy. The less privacy you have, the more important and popular you are. And that's how we base our reality now. That is one of my misled thoughts for this week. Thank you. Back to Dan.
Thanks, Tony. And thanks to you, Rick and Josh. And thanks to you out there for catching our first episode of the I'm Only Serious News Network. Tune in next week when we have a whole new set of topics to discuss with you.